Moving on to the whole idea of speaking out more effectively, you talk about the 5 Ws.
Yeah, the 5 Ws again is another one of these little frameworks we've put in to be as practical as we possibly can. It stands for who, why, what, where, and when. So we just ask people to pause and think, who do they need to hear them? And who do they need to speak to? Sometimes those things can be different. You know, you may want the chief executive to hear you, but there's absolutely no chance of getting to him or her to speak to them. So you need to speak to a colleague that will then speak to them. You know, that's where the politics comes in a bit. So who's the person that needs to hear you? And why? What's your positive intention behind speaking up? Sometimes when we speak out and speak up, we can, if we're not careful, be driven by less than wholesome values. When we're really hacked off by something, or we're really embarrassed, or we're really annoyed.
Yeah.
So the why is a bit about, okay, what's your value really behind this? Let's get that foreground. What words and what body language do you want to use when you speak up? Because that will obviously make an impact. There are trigger words which you really want to make sure you use in order to get that person's attention. Or there might be trigger words that you definitely don't want to use because that person will just roll their eyes if you use them. Yeah, so language, but also the body language is really important. And then there's where and when, and that's the environment and the timing, and that can make all the difference. And it's often the one that doesn't get thought about very much. You know, we kind of think to ourselves, I need to speak up, I need to speak up. And then we pounce on the first moment that feels okay to us.
Yeah.
And whereas actually, of course, we've got to think about, well, when is the other person in a place where they can really hear us? And that might not be, you know, exactly when you want to say something. And it includes things like, is it just a one-to-one, or do you need people with you and around you? Is it virtual? Is it face-to-face? Is it a formal kind of meeting, or is it taking a walk outside? You know, all of these decisions really affect the way that we have a conversation. So the 5 Ws is really aiming just to help people just pause and think a little bit more carefully if they have that opportunity before they're speaking up with something really important.